All right, so get this. We are diving deep into fast food chicken tenders today.
Ah,
I mean, who doesn't love a good chicken tender? And, one of our listeners sent us this amazing YouTube video where Joshua Weissman, that awesome food vlogger, tries over 20 different fast food chains.
wow, 20.
Yeah, to find like the absolute best chicken tender in the country.
Hmm.
Talk about dedication.
Right. And this isn't just about fried chicken. This is like a cultural thing. Chicken tenders, I mean, they have exploded in popularity, right? There are whole restaurants built around just that one item now. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what makes a great tender and, well, maybe like challenge some of our ideas about fast food along the way.
Totally. And right off the bat, Weissman lays down the law. No dipping sauces allowed.
Yeah.
He wants to judge the tender all on its own. No help.
Oh, that's smart. Like a true test, right? It really forces you to focus on the chicken itself and the breading, of course. No distractions.
Exactly. And just to make sure that the results are relevant to everyone listening, he only included restaurants that have at least 300 locations around the country. So none of those super local one-off places.
Okay, that makes sense. Got to have some consistency, right? All right, I'm ready for some of those early surprises you mentioned.
Well, Zaxby's, which you'd think would be up there, right? They only got a 6.7. Weissman thought the chicken was kind of stringy and maybe a little too salty.
That's interesting. Zaxby's, yeah. You'd think they'd be a contender for sure. But I guess even places known for chicken can have an off day, right? Too much salt. Yeah, that can really mess with the moisture balance. It's a delicate thing.
Totally. Okay, but you're ready for this. Whataburger. 3 out of 10.
3. Ouch. You know it's bad when...
Right, what went wrong there?
Oh, it's the classics. Dry chicken, dry breading, that dreaded 50-50 breading to chicken ratio. That just screams inattention to detail. Makes me think of those times you bite into a tender and it's just like air.
Ugh, yeah. Fried air is the worst.
Seriously. And that 50-50 ratio could be a sign they're using those pre-made frozen things. Like they're getting them from some giant food supplier.
Oh, right. Like that Cisco chicken that Weissman called out a few times. Steak and Shake, Freddy's. They all got dinged for those generic tenders. But why does that even matter? Isn't consistency the whole point of fast food?
Well, consistency is important, sure, but not if it means sacrificing flavor.
Right. You make a good point, though. Fast food can get a little homogenized sometimes, like when you rely on those mass-produced ingredients, you lose that unique individual touch.
Yeah, totally. It's like the difference between a home-cooked meal and something that just popped out of the microwave.
Exactly.
So this next thing was super interesting to me. Weissman found that a lot of chains, the spicy tenders, were way better than the regular. Is spicy better?
Ooh, the spicy versus regular dilemma. Does spice mask flaws, or does it actually make things tastier? Yeah. What do you think? Do you like spicy chicken? It depends, I think. Sometimes spice can really add complexity, especially if it's a good blend of spices, not just all heat. But yeah, if it's just burning your mouth off,
yeah,
that can kind of distract from the actual chicken flavor.
Totally agree. There's definitely an art to it. You have to find that balance where the spice enhances the other flavors, not obliterate them,
Like a Church's chicken. The spicy tender was awesome, but the regular was just kind of eh. But then Jack in the Box, both the spicy and regular were actually good, with the spicy just slightly edging out the win.
Oh, interesting. So maybe in that case, the spice was a subtle enhancer, just bringing out those natural chicken flavors a bit more. And, this makes me think about how much personal preference plays a role. Everyone's taste buds are different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for a real curveball? Raising Cane's. The place that's basically all chicken tenders all the time. They only got a 5.5.
5.5. It's crazy.
I know. Weissman's main complaint was that, on their own, the tenders were kind of bland. He said you need the sauce to make them good. And it sparked this huge debate online. Can a chicken tender that relies on sauce even be considered good?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I get his point. The tender should be delicious all by itself.
Right.
Not just a vehicle for dipping sauce.
All right.
But then again, isn't the sauce part of the whole experience? What do you think?
This is getting deep. I mean, it really makes you think about how we judge food, right? Some dishes are just meant to be eaten together. Would you judge a piece of bread without thinking about, the butter or jam that usually goes with it? Maybe we need to look at chicken tenders the same way.
That's a good point. It's like judging a whole symphony based on, one note. Maybe it's the combo of the tender and the sauce that creates the full experience.
Right. But then you have those like purist folks who say the tender has to stand on its own no matter what.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating debate. I think every chicken tender fan has to grapple with this one at some point.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've had disappointments, surprises, deep thoughts about chicken and sauce. You ready for the biggest shocker of all?
Hit me with it.
The #1 spot.
Huh?
The chicken tender champion. The winner is Long John Silver's.
Wait, Long John Silver's? The seafood place.
Yep, 8.5. Weissman was blown away. Juicy, perfectly seasoned, no old oil taste. Apparently, they know how to work a deep fryer.
Wow, that is unexpected. It just goes to show, never judge a book by its cover, right? Or a restaurant by its, like, most famous menu item. You just never know where you'll find those hidden culinary gems.
Totally. And on that note, I think it's a good place to wrap up part 1 of our chicken tender journey.
Yeah, great place to pause.
We've seen that the world of fast food chicken tenders is full of surprises, controversies, and even philosophical questions.
All right, who knew?
Stay tuned, though, because in part 2, we're going to tackle some of the big names, like KFC, Popeyes. Can they dethrone the reigning champ, Long John Silver's? We'll find out.
Can't wait. This has me thinking, what are some of the places you've been totally surprised by? It's like a little hole-in-the-wall joint that had the most amazing burger ever or something?
Oh, I have a few stories like that. We'll to compare notes later. But for now, let's leave our listeners with that question. What are those culinary hidden gems that have blown your mind?
Welcome back. Still thinking about those chicken tenders, right?
Oh, absolutely. That Long John Silver's win was a real shocker. Okay, what else did we learn from Weissman's chicken tender odyssey?
Well, let's talk about, a fast food icon, KFC, Colonel Sanders, the bucket, the whole deal. How did their tenders measure up?
Yeah, you'd think they'd be right up there, right? But Weissman actually pointed out that KFC can be a little inconsistent, depending on the location.
That's true. It's tough to keep things, like, perfectly the same when you have thousands of restaurants. That's a lot of chicken.
A lot of pressure. And, yeah, it seems like, in this case, they kind of missed the mark. Weissman wasn't impressed. Uneven breading. Some parts crispy, some not. And seriously underseasoned. He even said substantially undersalted.
Undersalted KFC. Wow, that's almost unheard of. They're usually known for, like, bold flavors. Maybe it's the breading. Some breading blends can actually, like, mute the saltiness of the chicken itself.
Could be. He gave him a 6.2, which isn't terrible, but definitely not winning material. It's a good reminder that even the big guys can stumble sometimes.
Absolutely. It shows that, you have to judge each experience on its own. Don't let a brand name, like, totally sway your opinion.
For sure. Okay, speaking of big names, we got to talk about Popeyes, the chicken sandwich king. They actually won Weissman's nugget competition in a previous video, so I was curious to see how their tenders would do.
Yeah, the stakes are high. So what happened?
Well, get this, he ordered 3 different types of Popeyes tenders. Regular, spicy, and blackened.
Whoa. Going all out.
He wanted to cover all the bases. Recognizing that different people have different tastes.
Smart. Very thorough.
So, the regular tenders were decent, but not amazing. He thought the spicy ones had a little more going on, but still not enough to be a top contender.
And the blackened tenders, what were those like?
Oh, those were interesting. They weren't breaded at all. Just chicken breasts, like tossed in the fryer.
Ah, so more like grilled chicken strips then.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually liked the flavor and the juiciness of the blackened tenders. But he said the lack of breading meant they were missing that satisfying crunch.
Yeah, that makes sense. Breading isn't just about the flavor. It's about the texture, too. That crispy exterior, that contrast with the juicy meat. I mean, think about it. Would you enjoy French fries if they were soft and soggy?
Oh, absolutely not. The crunch is essential. So none of the Popeyes tenders were able to beat Long John Silver's. The spicy ones got a 6, which is respectable, but not quite championship material.
It seems like even chains that, are known for one specific type of fried chicken can still struggle in other areas. It just shows that each dish should be judged on its own, regardless of the chain's overall reputation.
Okay, so next up, Wingstop. Obviously, they're all about wings. But did their tenders make the cut?
Sadly, no. Wingstop fell into the Cisco trap, serving up those generic pre-made tenders that we talked about earlier.
Oh, right. He called them out immediately. He said they were bland, the crunch was subpar, and he even tasted a little bitterness, maybe from old oil.
Yikes. That's a shame. It makes you think, is it a cost thing? Or maybe it's just really hard to keep fresh ingredients at that many locations.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. But yeah, in this case, the quality suffered. He gave Wingstop a 5.5, proving that specializing in one thing doesn't guarantee success in other areas.
It's a good reminder that, we shouldn't let a restaurant's reputation for one item influence our expectations for another.
Right. Okay, ready for a potentially controversial one. Chick-fil-A. People either love it or hate it, right? Weissman is definitely not a fan. He always criticizes their tenders for being underbreaded.
Yeah, this is where personal preference comes in. Some people like a lighter breading, some like it thick and crunchy.
He described the breading as having the texture of a soggy biscuit. Not exactly appetizing.
Wow. That's a very specific image, but it shows how important texture is, right? Soggy breading can ruin everything.
To be fair, he did say the chicken itself is juicy and cooked well,
Yeah.
but the lack of crunch was a deal breaker. He gave them a fire. I'm sure that's not going over well with the Chick-fil-A devotees.
Yeah, but food is subjective. What one person loves, another person hates. That's part of what makes it fun.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to a chain that surprised us in Weissman's French fry competition. Dairy Queen. Remember, their fries were unexpectedly good, so I was curious about their tenders.
Ooh, yeah, I love when a chain surprises you like that.
Well, they didn't disappoint. Weissman was pleasantly surprised. He liked the crunchy breading, juicy chicken, good seasoning. Even said the breading-to-meat ratio was perfect.
Nice. Maybe Dairy Queen has a secret talent for fried food in general.
Could be. He gave them a 6.3, which puts them above average for fast food tenders.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what other hidden gems are out there, right?
Totally. Sometimes those unexpected discoveries are the best. You never know where you'll find culinary greatness.
It's true. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the iconic giants to the surprising underdogs. What are your big takeaways so far?
I think the biggest thing for me is that brand name doesn't always equal quality. And sometimes those places you least expect can have the best food. It's all about keeping an open mind and trying new things.
Absolutely. Okay, we still have a few contenders left. Bojangles, Jack in the Box, and even Arby's. Can any of them beat Long John Silver's? We'll find out in the final part of our chicken tender extravaganza. Okay, we're back for the final showdown in our epic chicken tender quest. Who will emerge victorious?
I'm on the edge of my seat. So many contenders left.
Yeah. We saw some surprises, some disappointments, some truly delicious moments along the way.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to this.
Right. The tension is real. Okay, so we still have a few heavy hitters to cover, like Bojangles. They're a Southern favorite known for their, really flavorful chicken. So, did their tenders live up to the hype?
Yeah, I've always heard good things about Bojangles, but I've never actually tried their tenders. What did Weissman think?
He was impressed. He gave them a solid 8 out of 10, praised the juicy chicken, crispy breading, and that bold seasoning. All the things we're looking for in a great tender.
Sounds like they nailed all the basics. But what set them apart? What made them stand out?
The spice blend. Weissman was really into it. He said it had a nice kick, but it wasn't, overwhelming. He even mentioned how some chains are almost afraid to use enough seasoning. They're underestimating what people's taste buds can handle.
Yeah, it's like they're playing it safe, trying to please everyone, but ending up with something that's just bland and boring.
Exactly. Sometimes you need a little boldness to really make a dish shine, and it seems like Bojangles gets that.
Okay, so Bojangles is a strong contender, but can they dethrone the reigning champion, Long John Silver's?
That's a tough one. Okay, let's move on to a chain known for its, let's just say quirky menu, Jack in the Box. We talked about their spicy versus regular tender showdown earlier, but how did they do overall?
I'm actually curious about this one. Jack in the Box isn't exactly the first place I think of when I'm craving chicken tenders.
Right, but Weissman was pleasantly surprised. He gave them a 7 out of 10, highlighted their generous portion sizes and flavorful breading. He even noted a distinct umami quality to the chicken, which suggests they use some interesting seasonings in their recipe.
Umami. Huh. Now I'm intrigued. It sounds like they're not just relying on salt and pepper to carry the flavor.
Exactly. And he also praised the crunch of the breading, which, as we've discussed, is essential for that satisfying textural contrast.
So maybe Jack in the Box is a bit of a dark horse in the chicken tender world. Not the most obvious choice, but definitely worth considering.
Yeah. It's a reminder that sometimes the chains we overlook can actually be really good. You just gotta be willing to, explore a little.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we're down to our final contender, Arby's, known for their roast beef and curly fries. Can they pull off an upset in the chicken tender category?
Let's just say that Arby's didn't exactly shine in this arena.
Oh no, what happened?
Temperature, that was the first issue. He said the tenders were ice cold, which, as we all know, is a big no-no when it comes to fried chicken.
Ugh, cold chicken tenders. There's nothing worse. Like biting into a mouthful of disappointment.
It's true. Temperature is crucial for flavor and texture. A good tender should be piping hot with that crispy exterior and juicy interior. Cold tenders, well, it just suggests problems with the cooking or holding time.
So, temperature fail for Arby's. Anything else?
Too much breading, like it was trying to hide the chicken. And he mentioned a lack of seasoning, a pretty generic flavor overall.
Sounds like they might be better off sticking to what they're known for.
Probably. Sometimes it's best to, focus on your strengths.
Okay, so Arby's is out. That means it's down to Bojangles and Long John Silver's. It's a battle of the unexpected champions. Who will take the crown?
Drum roll, please. The winner of Weissman's fast food chicken tender showdown is Long John Silver's.
Back to back. They held on to their title.
Incredible. It just goes to show you never know where you'll find delicious food.
I think this whole deep dive has been a fantastic reminder that brand recognition isn't everything. Personal preferences are huge. And sometimes the best fried chicken comes from a place known for seafood.
Absolutely. I think the takeaway here is to approach every food experience with an open mind. Be adventurous, try new things. You never know what culinary gems you might discover.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So next time you're craving chicken tenders, maybe think outside the box. Try someplace new, someplace unexpected. You might just find your new favorite. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.